The Crazy Ex-Wives Club is not just about surviving divorce. It is about thriving. Erica Bennett has 19 years of behavioral training under her belt and a decade of expertise in rewiring minds. She offers personalized coaching to women who are navigating the complexities of divorce. Using techniques like mediation, sound healing, and EFT, she guides her clients towards emotional healing and success. Whether you're contemplating divorce or adjusting to a new normal, Erica is here to hold space and lead you forward into your new you. Erica Bennett, welcome back.
Hello, nice to see you again, Tracy.
Well, we had so much fun talking last time that we had to do it all over again because, I work with so many women who are going through divorce. And when you say Crazy Ex-Wives Club, the word crazy is just the thing. Like these guys are always saying that their ex-wives are crazy and whatever. And I know you are totally redefining what crazy means in the context of divorce.
Right? So we need as many women to understand and be on board with it because yes, I laugh every time the Facebook goes viral and some dude hops on there and laughs, well, of course you guys are all crazy. And I'm like, well, but we're not. We all feel crazy when we're really hurt. You feel crazy when you're lost. So let's, reclaim that title and be crazy in the good way.
Well, you feel crazy when you're divorcing someone who is saying bad things to you and about you. It is unfortunately so common when we're getting divorced that the insults are thrown. And your reality, you start questioning your own reality in a lot of these divorce scenarios, right?
Yeah, and that's the truth. You don't understand what's true and not true. Or you have told yourself so many, quote unquote lies. You believed them in the moment because it's how you needed to see things to be able to survive. And so when the walls start falling down and when the divorce becomes a reality, you start to challenge all of these beliefs you held. What's real? What's not real? Was my partner really showing up authentically? Were they playing games and manipulating me the whole time? And so there is this journey of relearning who you are so that you don't feel crazy or manipulated or out of control.
Well, there's incredible guilt surrounding divorce. Did I try hard enough? Should I have given him another chance? Well, maybe this time the marriage counseling will work.
100%. In fact, that is one of the most common topics that I talk about because we all want to know that we tried the hardest. Nobody wants to quit if it's just about to get better. Nobody got married expecting to get divorced. Everybody understood there were going to be rough patches, but then when you're in it, you're really wondering like, is this it? Is this the rough patch that is the final straw? Or is this just a thing that we're growing through? And how do you know the difference?
I almost never hear anyone say, did I leave my husband too soon? Should I have stayed longer? Like when you get that marriage and that divorce in the rearview mirror and you are well beyond it, I think almost everyone ends up saying, oh my gosh, why didn't I leave sooner? But you know what? You also had your integrity, and your integrity told you that you wanted to try again or whatever. And I think it's so important that we stop shaming ourselves. No matter how you handled your marriage or divorce, you did what you knew best at the time, right?
100%, because I stayed in that separated phase for 2 years. For 2 years, he continued to lie. He continued to see the other woman. He swore hands down they had zero communication, and I continued to believe him. And so I had a lot of shame, because I felt like everybody else must have known. I must have been, the only stupid one, still holding on to a dream, but it's a huge decision. I would not change those 2 years because I don't think it's something that you should jump ship lightly on. I'm like the most pro-marriage divorce person that
Right?
I know because I advocate so strongly for owning your own impact and really working to fix what isn't working in the marriage before you just decide to get divorced. And so it is going to take you longer. I mean, would you rather say that you jump ship too soon or that you waited a little bit too long? Because we don't make a mistake, okay? So you weren't ready to move on. I was not ready to move on until I was ready. Until I knew all those years that something was still going on, but I was hoping that it was going to change, or I was afraid to be able to move forward onto a new path. And when I finally got ready to know that I truly deserved something and wanted something else, then I could go and I could file for divorce.
Today, we're talking about the power of emotions. And I know that you're a big advocate for let's use our emotions for good, right? We could use them to tear other people down, to be a puddle in a corner crying our eyes out. And certainly we want to feel our emotions and hold space for ourselves and for others to have the feelings they have. But at the end of the day, it's about finding power within those emotions, right?
Yeah, you have a responsibility to learn how to take care of your own emotions. And just because somebody pisses you off doesn't mean that you get to respond and be mean to them. Just because somebody else hurt your feelings doesn't mean you get to turn around and hurt somebody else. There is nothing good that comes from reacting and taking your emotions out on somebody else. And we have our own personal responsibility to be the one that owns it. It doesn't mean that what they did to us is right. It doesn't mean that it's valid. It doesn't mean that you deserved somebody being mean, but you have a personal responsibility to understand, what are your emotions telling you? What do I need to learn from them? And then how do I heal them so that they stop hurting other people?
Okay, I'm not going to lie. I sometimes get a little tired of hearing people say, I can't control what he does. All I can control is my own reaction to it. Right. And then it feels like I'm always having to be the bigger person. Right.
Mm,
How
so
can
annoying,
how
right?
can
It's
someone
so annoying.
manage it when that's how it feels?
It is so annoying. I mean, even I get frustrated. I sit there and I'm like, okay, I'm aware that we're in this pattern in my relationship. How come I have to be the one? Why don't I get to just throw a fit? How come I can't just, look the other way? So, the truth, you can. And you will continue to get the same reaction and response and pattern from your partner. So, my question is, do you want to see something new? And the other piece to that is this, that at a certain point, you are done being the one who constantly has to make exceptions and make, changes and alter what you're doing to be okay. That is the part where healthy boundaries come in. It doesn't mean that somebody can continue to treat me poorly. Now, I can't get them to change, but I can change me. I can remove me from the scenario. I can stop contact with that person. I can create a different system so that they no longer have access to affect my day. That's that balance of own your part, but then protect yourself with healthy boundaries so that people can't continue to impact your day.
Protecting my peace is so important. And I gotta tell you, I saw this thing in one of the divorce support groups online that I thought was genius. This woman was having a really difficult time interacting with her ex-husband, and text messages weren't working, parenting apps weren't working, emails weren't working. So she created a persona called Andy. And she told her ex, I've hired a virtual assistant named Andy. Here's his email address. And going forward, you're going to communicate with Andy because I can't communicate with you. And of course, she was Andy. She was Andy behind the scenes. Her husband was so nice to Andy and so polite to Andy. It was a total game changer for her.
I love that. And what a perfect example of creating a healthy boundary. Could she change her ex? No. Could she continue to show up the way that she knew, a responsible, respectful adult would? Yes. He's still doing the same stuff. Okay. She put a filter in between. She used a setup, it could be a chat feature, it could be a fake persona, whatever it is. Put something in between, because a lot of times it is just the interaction between the two people, the momentum and the past hurt and the past emotion that we need to step away from. I love that.
Okay, so tell me about harnessing the power of the emotions for good when you're getting divorced or trying to get past your divorce, or maybe you're even not getting divorced. Maybe you just have some relationship struggles and you're uncertain about what your future holds.
Yeah, I really think there's two parts about harnessing the power of emotions. One, you have to stop reacting to the old hurts. Okay, so you have past experiences, you have past interactions, past momentum going or beliefs going that are well worn. And so when that thing hits, it triggers the same feelings and the same emotions. And so part of the work is being able to clear that stuff out. Stop letting that stuff trigger you. Stop letting that control you And then the second part, which is like when you get to be to the good crazy, right, is that when you can truly step into the safety and security of knowing that there is enough for everybody and that everybody will find their way forward, then you can act from love and abundance and allowing people to be whoever they need to be because it doesn't detract from who you are.
When you talk about clearing that old stuff out, it sounds like somebody needs therapy. Because I don't know how you get past those hurts without some sort of active process to help change how you frame those things or focus on them.
100%. And this is where I think, you know, society, we've come a long way to finally have insurance kind of sort of cover mental health. Like when I first started working in a corporate job, I do not think any sort of mental health was included. Now, maybe it's like a $45 copay. It's still not cheap. It's still not really fully covered, but there's some coverage there, right? Great. Talk therapy. There is so much more out there than talk therapy. And that is where I love talk therapy. I did talk therapy for years, but until I moved it into owning it in my body, I couldn't get the relief that I was looking for. Because we can talk about it again, right? What happens when I talk about it? I activate that same path in my brain. I
Mhm.
activate the same feelings. And it's like you've mowed the lawn, okay? Your grass is growing, your emotions are growing. They're getting higher and higher, the weeds are showing up, and so what happens? You mow it. I talk about it, I let some of it go, I kinda cut down the tops of it, but the roots are still there because your emotions, the past experiences are literally interwoven in the fabrics of your muscles, of your cells, and so until we partner looking at it, that's the benefit of talk therapy, it really has you look at it, but then also move it through your body. Whether that's movement, whether that's exercise, somatic healing is really, really popular. You kind of see it all over lately. Whether it's sound, whether it's just consciously rewiring the neural pathways in your mind, we've got to physically move it through the body, not just talk about it.
Do you coach women through some of these ways of moving it through your body?
I do. So you know, I kind of love them all. I love therapy and therapy alternatives. And so when I work with clients, we pull on a lot of different modalities. Okay. We need to look at the mindset. I need to understand what are your current beliefs? We need to identify what's working for you and not working for you. Where is fear keeping you small? Where is it holding you back? And then when we get to those places that hurt, that are triggered, that feel like that, now we move it. And that's where I'm holding that space for you because it can feel really overwhelming. It used to be too much on a Friday night alone trying to grieve my marriage. I just needed somebody to be there. So we use practices like breath work. We use, I've got my yoga training. We do some movement, some stretching to get pieces moving through. We might bring in some sound bowls because, again, those are frequencies that are hitting different cells in the body and really helping you learn how you can tap into those physical sensations and set them free.
Wow. Okay, let me shift a little bit to talk about money and the emotions that are surrounding money because so many people live with a scarcity mindset. Lots of us grew up in families with tight budgets, so it makes sense that we would continue to have money worries into adulthood, even if we're making a good living. So, how can people work on processing those emotions related to money scarcity?
Yeah, I had super money scarcity. I had a great job. I was making a great salary. I was already paying the mortgage on my house, but I got divorced and I was so afraid that I wasn't going to be able to pay my bills anymore. The
Much
fear.
less retire someday, right?
Right? Like, I was like, "How am I gonna continue to live the life that I was living?" And you guys, I wasn't living some crazy life. I wasn't jet setting every weekend, but yeah, I wanted to go on a vacation with my son. I wanted to take a solo trip. I wanted to be able to eat lunch out when I wanted to eat lunch. Or, if I'm at the store and the organic blueberries look amazing, I wanna spend $6 on the pint and go ahead and enjoy them. These were the things that I felt like I couldn't continue. I was scared and it was irrational. Okay. So what do you do in those instances? Well, the first part is we've got to level set you that you are safe and you are secure. And so I had to start to look at the facts. Well, this is the same mortgage I've been paying for 10 years. There's no difference in this mortgage. I've paid it for this long. Can I pay it for the next month? Yes, yes, I can. Then I had to look at my credit card bills and say, okay, where am I just emotionally shopping? I am so guilty of I'm bored and going to Target and walking around or going in for one thing and leaving with a cart. So I just know it's better for me to stay out of the store, stay off the Amazon app, stay out of
Right.
Target. It helps and it adds up, right? Now, those are logical things we can do. On the other side, I had to take care of the emotions. The fear would hit. What does it feel like in the body? I had tension in my chest, right? My shoulders felt really tight. I felt like I couldn't take a deep breath. The tension, it's almost like your shoulders start rising up to your ears. Pay attention. Where do you feel it? When that fear based thought hits, where do you feel it in your body? And from there, then I could consciously choose to work through it. Take a deep breath, Erica, you're okay. Take another deep breath, Erica. You're going to be fine. Take a deep breath. Okay. Okay. I'm starting to be able to regain some of that thinking in my brain, right? The emotions are not in control. Then what did I have to do? I had to build momentum in the right direction. I would play little money games. Like, how exciting is it that I paid all my bills and I had extra money left over? How much money can I roll into savings this month, right? It started to build and shift into, wow, not only am I safe, wow, okay, celebrate, I paid all my bills. Oh my gosh, and I paid an extra $20 on this bill or an extra $200 on this bill. Or, ooh, this month I made $500 that I rolled into my savings. All of those things help you shift how you're seeing the world. And when we see it different, it feels different in the body. And then it changes our behaviors. I wasn't shopping at Target. I wasn't buying a bunch of needless stuff. I wasn't, having all this junk in my house that I didn't really know what to do with. I had space. I had freedom to spend my money on what I wanted. And it took away that fear that I didn't know how I was going to pay my next bill.
And by the way, it's not a massive shift that happens overnight. It's little shifts and little relearning things and training yourself and taking small steps, right?
Yeah, and I know that when the money, like when the debt feels really big, when you're looking at a space of you're like, "No, Erica, that's nice, pat me on the top of the head. That's nice, Erica. I don't have a job or I'm making, $17 an hour. How am I supposed to afford mortgage rates and rent rates right now?" I don't want to brush over that money issues are very real. They are very real, but we do not work from that level of fear around how am I going to pay the bills to feeling safe and secure I can pay the bills to feeling abundant that I can use my money for what I want. And so no matter where you are on that pendulum, I can guarantee that fear is at the root of it. I can guarantee that there is a fear-based belief that is holding you back from changing any of those behaviors, right? A big behavior is changing, are you spending on credit cards or are you saving? Another big behavior of the impulse purchasing on the checkout instead of really choosing things that light you up. Those are little shifts, but we can't get there when fear is controlling us because then we need a solution. We need something to make it feel better right away. And that's when we buy extra stuff or we put things on a card or I'd be the most of like, oh, I was so good for 3 months. And so now I'm like swiping the card and buying all the shoes and all the clothes that I want as a reward. Those were really driven by emotions, not by what I actually wanted or needed.
Well, the two biggest fears during divorce are what's going to happen to the kids and what's going to happen to the money. So, when you are facing financial difficulties in divorce, I think it's even harder though than just normal money fears.
100%, because there also is this piece that your security net is no longer there. Okay, so when I was married and there were some rough years just in general, right? There was layoffs going at other companies or things like that. You'd start talking about it with your friends. And what was the answer? Well, there's two of us, one of us can keep working. And if nothing else, I'll get a job serving at a restaurant. And at least some money will come in. So there's a bit of a security net because there's somebody else who's also bringing money in. And so when you divorce and that security net is gone, one of the things we also do is we try and lean on or control that person to still be our security net. Okay, your spousal support and your child support payments. And, every state has their calculators, and this is not a legal conversation. You talk to your lawyer about what your rights are, but I want to plant the seed of how amazing would it feel to not be reliant on that money? How
Oh,
ama
right. Absolutely. If you are legally entitled to receive support payments, I want you to take that money. However, if you are in a position, if you have worked yourself to a position where even if that money didn't come in, you'd still be all right this month, that's an amazing place to be.
Yeah, and I mean, I looked at it with my, child support payment. So I was the breadwinner, and I had majority time, I'm primary caregiver for our child, and so the support payment I didn't get spousal support, I got a child support payment, and it's relatively small, and that's fine, and I set myself a goal that I didn't wanna make it that I needed it. It was no longer mandatory for me to be able to thrive. What did it mean? It meant that then that money could roll directly over into a college fund. It rolled into a savings fund. It just meant that my life was no longer tied into whether or not he paid me this money. That great, that money can flow in and do whatever it wants, but I am self-sufficient. I can take care of myself. I can build financial stability without relying on somebody else.
So, how do we gain some confidence in our money and in ourselves as we're going through major life transitions?
Yeah. So you guys always look at things in terms of the logical and the emotional.
Mm,
What logical steps do I need to take? Do you know what you actually need for a budget? Do you know, I had somebody, they talked about like, what's your basement? What's the smallest amount of money that you need to come in to be able to pay the things that you need, right? Maybe it's a car payment, it's probably your rent or your mortgage, and it probably is like food and gas. Not all the extras. If you had to cut all the extras, what's the basement amount of budget money that I need to come in? And how much money is coming in? Is there a surplus? Is there a gap? Where am I really at, right? That's a logical thing you need to get real clear on. A logical thing you need to get real clear on is where is your spending and where is it in excess? What are things going to shift? Yes. I know you want me to tell you that your life will just instantly continue on, but there probably is a period of rebuilding, of adjusting, of learning to adapt to where you're at right now. It does not mean if the money wheel is not spinning the way you want it, it's not going to stay like that forever.
it's not forever. It is not forever.
It is just right now, what do I need to shift? You know, I didn't go out and buy new pans. I didn't buy new glassware. I didn't buy, there was not a, there, new garbage cans got bought because I think every time you move, who wants to clean out a garbage can? But I made choices. I made specific choices. Then there was the emotional side. Every time that fear hit, I would do tapping. So I do a karate chop tap, open up, like right hand, open up your right hand, take your left hand and tap that pinky side, the fleshy part of your palm on your open hand. And it can be either hand, it doesn't matter. But you start to stimulate a pressure point in there to help with anxiety. Just tap and be like, okay, hold on. I'm feeling a little worried about money right now. Right now, in this present moment, am I okay? Yes, today I am okay, but maybe in 3 weeks, I don't know where the mortgage is coming from. Okay, that we need to work on, but we start with today. Okay, so those fears are gonna hit. Start to, again, wire yourself towards seeing what you do have. Celebrate the bills you are paying off. Celebrate the things that are going well for you. And in that, get clear on those emotional purchases. Get clear on where are you self-soothing with purchasing. It's purchasing or food, you guys. You're doing one of them. So if you don't want to deal with your emotions, you either are shopping online or you're eating ice cream late at night. It's usually one of those two.
Well, I know it takes work to harness those emotions during divorce, and you work with women in your community to do just that, right?
Yes, because it's so hard to do it on your own. You know, you get alone in the house and nobody else is there, and those fears, they are overwhelming and they feel real. And you need somebody there kind of holding the space, holding the flashlight, saying, come towards the light. You are going to get through this. This is a season, this is not a forever. And, I've been there too. I understand. And so there are a couple different ways you can stay connected with the club, the Crazy Ex-Wives Club community to get support. So whether we work one-on-one and do coaching, whether you join any of the community support programs, but it's really important that you have the right support system. I can't do the work for you. I cannot wave a magic wand and erase the pain and the emotions and set you off on your new path. But what I can do is be your cheerleader and hold you up until you can get your feet underneath you, because you will. I can guarantee that you will. It just is up to how long it takes, and having that community support, whether it's, joining the calls, joining the networking, using the healing tools or the programs that we share. It's all about giving you the tools to learn how to regain control over your emotions.
What kind of women belong to the Crazy Ex-Wives Club?
Yeah. So you know what? Here's the interesting part. There's two types of women. Either you are unhappily married and trying to figure out how you move forward, or you've filed for divorce and how you are trying to figure out how to live on the other side. And so the community is full of those types of women. If you've filed for divorce and you're trying to learn how to thrive on the other side, that is learning how to handle the emotions of co-parenting. It is learning how to gain confidence to start dating again or decide if you even want to date again. It is learning how to help your kids navigate their emotions through divorce and creating healthy boundaries as you're working with your ex. The married women, they're about getting clear. What do you really want? Who are you? Who do you want to be? What do you want to see in a partnership? And then helping to get clear on whether or not that current relationship can fulfill those needs, or if divorce is the right option. Again, I would love to help as many people avoid divorce as possible, which is the irony of running a divorce club. But it sucked. It was hard and it was painful. And getting divorced didn't instantly fix the things that had gotten off track in my life. In fact, they make it a little more complicated, because now you are working with somebody. When you got kids, you continue to work with that ex. You continue to see them everywhere you go. So, band concerts and if you become grandparents, they're still there. And so being able to figure out who you are, who do you want to be, how do you want to treat other people, is 90% of the work, whether or not you stay or go in your marriage.
Well, tell our listeners about the free quiz you have, which I understand is called Finding Your Way Forward.
Yeah, so there is a free quiz at thecrazyexwivesclub.com. It'll pop up once you land on the page. Give it a couple seconds. Little pop-up will be there for you. But this quiz, it's like about 10 questions. It's meant to be a little light, a little fun, but it helps you understand which phase of divorce you're in. There are really 3 phases. Do I stay or do I go? That's the unhappily married. The defining who you are. Like now that you're no longer a wife and you've decided divorce is the option, who are you? What do you want in your life? And then phase 3 is learning how to thrive in your new normal. And that's that co-parenting, that is the dating, that is the figuring out what you want in this next chapter. So the quiz will help you figure out which phase you're in. And the most valuable part is when you drop in your email, it will email you what you can do to get unstuck from that phase. So it gives you a specific thing, a process, a mindset, a shift, a journal, a tool that you can do to move through the phase that you're in.
Erica Bennett of the Crazy Ex-Wives Club. That went so fast. Thank you for being here with me today. We are going to link your site and your resources in the show notes. It's been awesome talking to you again.
Thanks, Tracy.